Today on Trades Talk, we have Preston Kirkhart here with Sierra Pacific Mortgage. He's here to talk about him in the trades. So take it away, man. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so my name is Preston. I work for Sierra Pacific. I'm a mortgage loan originator, which means I write mortgage loans for individuals looking to purchase homes or investment properties. I've been doing that for just over 4 years now. Prior to that, I had about two or 3 years in banking. So making that transition wasn't too difficult, but I've had a pretty extensive background in finance. So
Okay.
just moved into this space.
You, how old are you?
So I'm actually, I turned 30 on Saturday. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
All right. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
What got you into wanting to be in the mortgage realm? Is it just the financing background and you're able to make that transition and see that that's a career move you wanted to make?
So yeah, when I was, I bought my first home when I was 22, and
That's impressive.
yeah, the process was,
yeah.
thank you.
That's impressive.
The process was awesome.
35.
Really?
This is my first house. Yeah. So
that's-
this one here that Michelle helped me with.
Yeah.
This was my very first home, and I'm 39 now. So yeah, I've had it for going on 3 years. So I guess 36.
Right on.
Was my very first house. So
Right
it's
on.
congratulations to
Thank
you.
you.
It's not something you hear about every day.
Yeah, I was 22 when I bought it. It was just, I bought it for like 65,000, small 2-bed, 1-bath back in 2017. I closed on it. And the process of buying a house it was awesome. I remember I was in college at the time, and I remember stepping out in the hallway, texting my realtor, like, negotiation questions. And the process was awesome. So I fell in love with real estate really when I bought the home. And I was, after that, I was working for a car wash here in town. I was the manager of one of the car washes here. And I was like, man, it was really brutal. The hours were long, and, you're doing a lot of maintenance work on heavy steel. And so I was like, I was young and it was all fun and everything. But then I got to a point where I was like, this is really taking a toll, because it's a lot of like heavy lifting. So I moved into to banking. I worked for a local credit union. I got a connection over there where I started doing consumer loans, credit cards, auto loans, things like that. And then when I moved into like IRAs and account maintenance and other things, and then personal finance.
So you kind of have like a broad spectrum of everything. And when it comes to that, as far as like the trades industry, you work directly with us all the time.
All the time.
So a lot of people probably don't really see your connection, but I see it. I see it on a daily basis. I've worked a lot with Michelle Post at Sierra Pacific. So you have like a really strong connection to those trades and can help them tremendously. So what's been your experience with that as far as 2 years, right? 2 years into
4 years,
4 years in loan origination. How's your experience been with the tradesmen?
Everybody knows a contractor who has shown up on see, you're like, I know. Everyone knows a contractor who says they're going to show up and do a job. They get paid and then they don't show up to do the job. Everybody knows someone who's done that. And so like I've got contracts. You'd be surprised how often this happens, where like, especially on government loans, where you've got FHA requirements or VA requirements. Like one thing that people don't think about on VA loans, it's required that you have to have screens on windows. Now there's ways to work around that, but like things like that, or FHA, chipping paint, things like that.
I've noticed, like I've seen that on the inspection reports where there's very specific things based on the lien holder or whoever it's going to be that's holding that loan. They want certain requirements met, and they have to be a certain way. It's
very stringent with those loans, and so it's like you got to know the right people. One, you have to know the right people who are going to do the job right, so we're not sending you back out there 5 or 6 times to like do the job. And then 2, you want people you can trust who are actually going to show up and do it right. Because like for me, in the world that I'm in, it's very sales driven.
Yeah.
And so everyone that I work with, if I refer you, that's a reflection on me in the way that I do business. So if I say, you should go hire Joe Blow to go out there and do this work for you, and then Joe Blow doesn't show up, or they don't do the job right, or they do something shady.
Joe blows you off.
We don't want that. I don't want to be because then I look bad. So you got to have the right people all the time.
Now, at least here, and I'm pretty sure it's like that across the country, but here, there's a ton of realtors. is there the same kind of a match with the loan originators and the mortgage? Is it more condensed and you have like a 15-to-1 rather than, every realtor has their own mortgage person that they work with?
So I don't know the ratio, but I'll tell you this. Since the start of, really like 2022 is when they started jacking up rates really high. We saw like, I think the last statistic I saw was like 60% fewer loan officers today than there was back in 2022. And even the start of last year. So we're just, you got lenders dropping like flies, but a lot of that can just be attributed to
economy.
The economy. And then you have like during like 2020 when the pandemic hit and rates were like at the lowest they've ever been, everyone and their mom got their mortgage license.
Yeah.
Because it was easy. You just had to, it was quick, easy money. So a lot of that can just be attributed to people like, they're not actually cut out for this. They're not built for it.
And I think that also, with what you said, plays a really big role in the people that you do trust.
Yeah.
Because there was a large influx of realtors that came in, a large influx into the financial markets in general, but really heavily in the trades, buying homes, selling homes. So whittling that down to the people that like, and trust is the biggest important factor in purchasing a home, selling a home, or anything really, residential or commercial wise.
Yeah.
Do you deal with commercial?
No, we're strictly residential. Okay. That's a whole nother beast.
All right. So a little bit of background outside of just your financial background in loans. Where do you come from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Andover. Okay. So I grew up right on like the line between Andover and Wichita, and went to Andover Central. My dad was a mail carrier. My mom worked for Via Christi as a nurse, medical assistant. So we grew up in Andover. I've got entrepreneurs in my family. My grandfather owned a construction company for a very long time. Then he sold it, retired. So it's I have an uncle who owns a construction company. He does a lot of dirt work, a lot of the wind farms around town.
Yep.
He takes care of the land that a lot of those are on. So he does a lot of that excavation and stuff. So like entrepreneurship's in my blood. And oddly enough, I'm the only one in my family who's kind of got like the sales business like side. Right. Everyone else is, my brother works for Boeing.
Yeah. Being on this side is something that definitely takes a certain character.
Yeah.
You got to be personable. And there's some that I've seen that's like, I want to do roofing sales. And I'm like, I'm going to tell you no.
Yeah.
It's probably not a good idea because you got to be willing to, go knock on those doors. You got to earn your stripes and figure it out. And I'm sure it's just the same with you guys on that side. Except you're probably not knocking doors. Hey, you ready to, refinance your house?
No. I remember when I started, right? So 2020, how I got into the mortgage industry was in 2020, pandemic hits, and I'm working for a financial institution here in town. And so the pandemic hits, and here's what I got fired, right? And I think really fired, because I was fired, but I think it was more tough times. So they were trying to like clean house, but they don't want to call it layoffs. Nobody wants to say layoffs because in that industry, it's very touchy. So it's like, hey, I remember the day that I got let go, there was a long line of people. They were just calling them back. Hey, for your services no longer required. Right. So it is what it is, but it was kind of a blessing. Like it was the first time I ever lost a job and I was like really scared, but as you probably remember during COVID, it was really lucrative to be laid off. So I had lost my job and I was kind of like freaking out. And then I took a breath and realized it was going to be okay. And God had a plan. And then I just was like, whatever it is I do is not going to be a lateral move. I'm done making lateral moves in my career. Whatever I do is a career move. It's what I'm doing forever. So I need to figure it out. So I was stuck between being a financial advisor, life insurance, annuities, things like that, or do I want to do something in real estate? So I was really like thinking about being a realtor. So I actually enrolled to get my real estate license. And then I was like, man, there was just something about it that I was like not feeling, because I really enjoy the financial side of things, like helping people make financial decisions and giving them advice. But I loved real estate. Yeah. And so it just so happened that mortgage lending was like the way to marry it. I had a family friend who worked at Sierra Pacific where I'm at now, and she helped me get on at Sierra Pacific, and it was great. I mean, I hit the ground running. My boss, has been a great mentor.
Michelle's awesome.
She's awesome. I remember when I
got to get her on the podcast.
We do. I remember when I first started in the business, I was working out of one of our actually it was Michelle's assistant. I was working out of her home in her basement.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So I was working there. I did that for like 30 days.
I think the first time, because she introduced you as the assistant one time when we were at one of the meetings.
Yeah.
And you had like kind of helped her along with that. So
I started out on the back end because they you got to earn your stripes. That lasted like 30 days because they realized real quick, like I was 2 days at this lady's house and 3 days I was out in the field, and they realized real quick that I wasn't cut out to just be sitting in a basement. I needed to be out there on the street. So I remember I was like freaking out. I was worried because I didn't even know what a mortgage was. I couldn't tell you what a loan to value ratio was or a debt to income or anything. So I just was like, I don't know what to do. But Michelle was like, doesn't really matter. Just go out there and sell something, right? Go get deals, bring them in the door, and we will help you. Like we're not going to let you fail.
Yeah.
So I just had this sense of peace. Like, okay, if that's what you're telling me to do, I'm going to take you at your word. And the rest was history. I mean, I've taken off and it's been great. So
what's been the most rewarding? We'll start with the positive side of it. What's been the most rewarding outside of just your challenges that you faced and getting the experience out of it? What's been that most rewarding, like, aha moment for you? Like, I am definitely doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But maybe you helped somebody. What's that look like to you?
Yeah.
How's that been?
I would say the most rewarding, there's been a lot in my career, but I would say the most rewarding, I had a client earlier this year that they were like, there's no way we're buying a home. There's no way. They had a lot of financial trouble. They had a bankruptcy at one point, and they were like, there's no way we're going to be able to buy a home. And it took me a few months, and Marcus actually was the agent that I hooked him up with, and we got him under contract. We got him approved. They bought the house. They got a beautiful home. Marcus had negotiated a flooring allowance to get a new kitchen, like tile floor put in the kitchen. So when they closed on it, and I didn't know this at the time, they closed on it. And then shortly after, they were going to do their gender reveal. And so I got the video after they closed on their home. They had their family over. This was just a few months ago. And I got the video, and she said, hey, we did our gender reveal. And I think they're having a girl. And they did that in their new home. And she said, you have no idea what this meant. Like, we went from living in our in-laws' house to now we own a home.
That's
and
powerful.
we didn't think we were going to be able to. And I was like, I did that. You know what I mean? It was a lot of hard work. And it was just like, that's why I do what I do, to make things possible.
So, I mean, it's with Michelle, I kind of have the similar story, to just shorten it up. I was looking to buy a house in Andover that I had already been renting for, quite a while.
Yeah.
And we had attempted to essentially go through the loan process on it, and the landlord was going to sell it to us and everything. And, long story short, we couldn't go that route. And the way that we found out was funny. It was crazy. I came to this house as a referral to fix the roof. And in the process of all of it, the homeowner was like, every time you're here, you just like look and you like this house, don't you? And I was like, yeah. And they offered to sell it to me.
Nice.
Well, not but 24 hours before that, if Michelle didn't tell me that I wasn't able to get that one and that we had to go a different process on the way that the mortgage was going to work, I would have turned it down and she would have sold it to the neighbor.
Right.
So it all kind of really happened. And what set that in motion was my uncle got himself locked out of the house. So our B&I was on Thursday.
Right.
I had the meeting to meet with this homeowner, the Breyer homeowner, on Wednesday. And he ended up locking himself out of the house. So I called her, and as I was on my way over here to meet up with them to do some other work, I called her and I was like, my uncle just called me and said that, the keys, he can't find his keys. He got locked out of his house. I need to either a little bit later or we need to reschedule. And she was like, no, we need to reschedule till tomorrow. And I was like, okay. If it wasn't for that situation, I would have turned it down because she told me right then and there, she was like, I would have walked over and offered it to the neighbor because he's been wanting it.
Right.
So just things that got set into motion perfectly. It is like a nice B&I story too, because, with the help that I had from Michelle and Jason Garraway was tremendous. And they're eternally, friends, and I'm eternally grateful for what they've done. 'Cause this has been a blessing.
Right. It's really powerful when you like what people don't
It's not just buying a house.
Yeah. It's really not. It's memories. It's putting roots down. It's being able to have the American dream. Like you look at one of the reasons I'm so passionate about what I do is you look at statistics in the data. There's a massive wealth problem, like a wealth gap between the different classes, and the number one driver of that is home ownership.
Yeah.
And so I go back to the family that I helped earlier this year. They were under the impression we're never going to own a home. We're going to rent forever. There's no point. And I was like, just give me a chance. Like we don't know what we don't know. You think you know, but there's what is, and there's what you think, and they are not always the same. And turns out, you give me, it took like 3 months. We had to do a little bit of work, but you gave me 3 months and they became homeowners. And I remember the day they showed up and they signed their paperwork, they were like, we never thought we were going to get here. And they did it with not a whole lot of money because it was a VA loan. So there wasn't a whole lot of money involved. They were like, this was great. We had a great team. I had the right people working with them the whole step. And throughout that process, just knowing that I had the tools to help make that happen and the right people, it was great. I mean, that by far made this career worth it.
So what's the other side of that? What's been the most aggravating, challenging, just like, I don't want to do this no more. Like, I can't believe I signed up for this shit.
Yeah.
What was that? I know you have one of those.
Oh, dude, who doesn't?
You probably
right?
have plenty of them.
I would say for me, man,
like no names,
Okay,
don't put anybody's name out there. And like,
honestly, for me, the hardest part is because this is a sales job, but it's a relation job, right?
Yeah.
It's relationships.
Fully relation.
And man, it's so hard because there are some so for me, I'm very loyal. Like if you're someone that's on my roster, if you're someone that I'm like, Devin Phillips with Shield Roofing, if you're a guy that I'm like my roofer, that's it. Like I will die on that hill if I have to, because
I appreciate that.
If
it's a high hill.
Yeah. I just, for me, it's like, disloyalty is one of those things that I'm like, man, it's really tough because, you bend over backwards for people. And then it's like, I see you posting with so-and-so, whatever. And so that's aggravating for me. That's the hardest part is you'll put in a lot of work with people. You'll ride for people's brands. You'll refer people. You'll do whatever you can to help build their business. But the moment things get tough and, things get a little hard, all of a sudden they're soft, right? I had a buddy of mine tell me a long time ago, he said, look, when I got into this business, he's my best friend. He said, look, he's a real estate agent. He's like, I was taught when I first started, there's two types of people. There's willows and there's oaks, and you can't be both. Which one is it? And so, trying to really sort out who's the willows and who's the oaks. I need people who, are going to do, who are going to, when times get hard, they're going to buckle down, they're going to knuckle under, and they're still going to ride for the brand and have faith that not only am I going to pull through for you, but also I need people who are going to ride for me too. If I'm riding for you, you've got to ride for me.
Yep.
That's the way this works. So that's been the hard part, is understanding, like, how do I get you, it's frustrating.
Oh, yeah. Now, on my side, it's a little difficult because I have a plethora of, realtors that I get business from. But the moment that I step over and I hand business to one specific individual, then I can potentially burn bridges with all the rest of them.
Yeah.
So it is a one-way street in that aspect. But when it comes to my mortgage person, that's a whole different avenue because you are same way. You have all the realtors coming to you.
Yeah.
So you can't, maybe you can. It's not like a list that we can just go down and go, all right, now the next person goes to you.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. So it is kind of a one-way street on my side at times, but I have to find a way to strengthen those relationships in a different way rather than handing a referral back to them. That's, monetary value. I have to figure out a way to strengthen the relationship. So it helps me grow in a way of networking and keeping those relationships going.
Yeah.
So I know it's probably just as challenging on your side because it is kind of a one-way street when it comes to the real estate. Yeah. All the business is coming to you, and it's like, I have 50 realtors that are.
You do that. I tell people that all the time. Like, agents, and I get it, right? And rightfully so. I mean, they're like, from their point of view, it's like, we're sending you all this business. What do you, like, you got to do something back. And it's like, I get it. But you got to understand the way this business is set up, they're really like, just the norm is to go to the realtor first, and then the realtor makes that referral.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. I wish it was the other way around. If it was the other way around, my job would be a lot easier, because then I'd just be sitting back dealing out referrals all day, but it's just not the world we're living in.
No.
Now, I've had instances where I've had repeat clients. They'll refer me, and, then I'm hooking them up with an agent that, either that client worked with, or I've got people coming to me off of Google from reviews. So I'll dish those out to agents that I think are going to work well for the client. Nobody wants to just work with, if I think it's not a good match, because again, it's a reflection on me, right? So I want to make sure that one, it's a good match, and two, you're going to get the job done. Just like when an agent is referring a lender, being on the other side of it now, when I'm referring people out, I'm like, okay, I understand it now. You want to make sure that your clients are getting taken care of the right way. They're getting the best service, the best quality. I understand it. So, but yeah, it's very much a one-way street.
So I have a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up. One, for let's say a tradeswoman that is watching, and they're wanting to expand their network. Outside of them, let's say going to a networking group or anything of that nature, and they're looking to break into, the financial market. How would you say the best approach for them to come and network with you and start introducing themselves? Is it one of those things, just stop by the office kind of deal and drop off some cards? What would be the best approach in your eyes for a person in the trades to approach you?
That is a good question. So I'll tell you this, in our world, we're always taking agents out. We're always taking them to lunch. We're always buying them stuff. So on the one time when you're like, hey, I'm going to take a lender and I'm going to go, like an insurance guy might take me to lunch. It's kind of weird at first, but I would say really just stop by the office, pop in, and be consistent. Like, just be front of mind. That's really what it comes down to. Find a lender that you want to work with, because I promise you they are a great asset. Like, we are sending out a ton of referrals to you guys as well, because whenever, like, again, government loans, when things pop up, I need to know the right people.
Yep.
Because there's real estate agents who, they've probably got a whole list of people, but
I've noticed lately that the list of people from the realtors, especially because of the influx of new ones, has just been spotty as can be.
It is.
I'm always constantly fixing other people's stuff, and I get introduced to a new realtor because of it. Or, hey, this wasn't right. How do I fix this? Or who do you know?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it works the same on your side, where you're like, all right, you guys done messed up. You didn't have the right people. So you have to have that, because you're final cut right there.
Yeah. If you want, I tell agents this all the time. Like, I'll talk to agents, and I've had arguments with agents where it's like, I hear you, I hear what you're saying, but we're going to do it my way. Right. And my way is we're going to do it right the first time. And the way you get it done right the first time is you send the right people out there.
Yeah.
Right. You can send out Joe Blow if you want. That's fine. But I've also had to send appraisers out to, like on government loans, for example, if you get an appraisal back with conditions that you have to meet, we'll send the appraiser back out there once those repairs are done. I've had appraisers go out to properties 2 or 3 different times because the repairs still aren't done the right way, or the contractor's not doing it the right way. So it's like, why wouldn't you just let me send my guy so we can get this done?
It costs more money
Yeah,
every time that
it's
they go out.
$150 every time you send that guy out there. So if I gotta send that appraiser out there, 2 times, that's $300 out of your buyer's pocket because you thought you were going to save them money because you were like, oh, well, I know this guy and he's, well, we all know a guy, right? Everyone knows somebody, but do you know the right person?
Yep.
Because there's a difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's.
So then the next question in this would be somebody watching, somebody interested in this and maybe looking for a career change.
Mm-hmm.
What would be a way for them to break into it if they're, 18, 19, 20 years old, being that you started off young? What would be a good advice for them to get into that market?
So one, you don't need a college degree. I can tell you that personal experience on that. So you don't need a college degree. Don't think you do. Really, this job comes down to being good with people and good with numbers. And so if you want to get into this, find a mentor and do your research. It's a tough industry to be in, but it's also very rewarding. So if you're looking to get into it, you need to find...
with risk comes reward.
Yeah, all the time. Calculated risk.
Yes, yeah, calculated.
So you've got to find a good mentor, do your research, and find a good company. To get licensed, I think it's like a 20-hour course you have to take, and then you have to take your national safe exam, which is very difficult. So getting into it, get the class. First off, find a company that's going to hire you, get sponsored, and then you need to take your exam and actually take your class and then your exam. And after that, it's just finding a good mentor who's going to be able to coach you through how to start a book of business, who to go after, how to speak the speak and walk the walk.
The first probably step, is the biggest one, is not being afraid to talk to people.
Yeah.
Because that, you've got to be able to talk.
Yeah.
You got to get out there and actually hit the ground and go after those clients and those prospects. Awesome.
Yeah, you've got to. It's this job really. It's really not that difficult. The hardest part of the job is finding the business. I tell people all the time. It's 80% sales, 20% actually originating loans, because you can't originate if you don't have any loans. So you got to get out there and talk to people. You got to know who you're talking to.
Yep.
And you got to be able to have good value add too. You got to be able to show agents why they need to work with you. You have to be able to show people why they need to be using you over this person down the block, because for me, it's the value add, right? I'm your guy for life. If rates come down in the next 2 years, which they probably will, you need to have faith that you're going to be the first person on my list to call to refinance you and save you some money. So it's just having that value add, learning how to talk to people, and having an unquenchable hunger for success. You have to be hungry for it all the time. There's no days off in this bracket.
Yeah, you got to have drive.
Yeah, there's no days off in this bracket. Yeah. You're working weekends, you're working nights. I've been up to midnight. I mean,
during the summer, for us,
it sucks to be you guys.
Geez, it's just a nonstop thing. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll take calls on a Sunday, and hey, you got a leak? Mm-hmm. All right, I'll come out right now.
Yeah.
Because you could potentially lose that customer at the same time too, especially if they're a new customer and you haven't worked with them ever before. You got to be on demand. Not quite 24/7, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Whenever the Andover storm hit with a tornado, I was getting calls all the way till 2 a.m.
Oh, I bet.
So there was 4 people specifically that was a part of another networking group in the Cornerstone neighborhood that called me, and it was 1:10, and they were like, "It's raining right now. We have water coming in. Can you please stop by?"
Yeah.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm preparing everything because at 7 a.m., boom, first thing I'm gonna be there immediately trying to take care of everybody. So
I'm curious how that works. For you, I've always been curious about this as a roofer. If a storm comes through and there's you get a call in a neighborhood, what's the pull through for you guys? What's your strategy? If you're not just doing one roof.
I don't door knock.
Really?
I don't. Now, if I do a job and I have that contract, that job specifically, I will knock the neighbors.
Right.
But I don't knock them to try to get the inspection immediately. what I like to do is I will provide to them, hey, here's my number. If you have any debris that falls over here into your yard, give me a call. I'll be happy to come by and clean up your yard for you. If you're concerned about nails or anything of that nature, give me a call. I'll come over and sweep your yard for you for free.
Right.
That's my little value ticket in to, allowing them to say, oh yeah, like, wow, that dude didn't try to sell me, didn't try to hop up on my roof immediately. I like door knocking, but I don't.
Right.
So it's kind of a catch-22. Like I will only do it in the right environment with the right things that are there. But I also look at it this way. You just went through a catastrophe event and you have this damage all over the place. The last thing that you want is someone trying to sell you some shit.
Exactly.
And not only that, but it looks very, poaching is essentially what it comes down to. That's not okay with me.
Right.
I respect the hustle. I respect the drive of others that do that. But when they do it, it's very predatory in their nature. And they're after getting that roof, getting that sale in people's weakest moments.
Right.
So with Andover, that's what kind of really put us on the map, because I did all of those tarps for free.
Right.
And I was apparently the only company offering it for free, from what the news station told me that interviewed me. KSN ended up putting me on the news because they were being told from customers that they were getting charged anywhere between $600 to $3,300 for a tarp, to put a tarp on the roof.
We're talking like
because
just a tarp
they
you get
know
from like Home Depot.
Well, so the contractors, the roofers know that the insurance will end up paying that tarp as an emergency tarping service. However, it's only paid if it's reasonable, and it's an incurred cost, meaning I had to pay this to mitigate my loss. So therefore it's incurred to the claim, even though we don't have a claim yet.
Sure.
So it's, it's refundable essentially.
Okay.
But it has to be reasonable.
Right.
If they only have like, half of their roof missing and it has just the shingles missing, putting a tarp on that, I'm not charging nobody $3,300. That's about how much it's going to cost for, just the material on that side and maybe some labor. Why are you charging that much for a tarp that took you 30 minutes to put up there?
Yeah.
So we tried to provide value to the community and kind of our way of giving back, but saying thanks at the same time. You know what? We're going to do this for free. If we get a customer and a client out of it, great. If we don't, okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was a lot of contractors that did not take that approach. They were, oh yeah, we can take care of that for you. Pay this invoice, and when you pay this invoice, your insurance is going to return the money to you. Dude, 24 hours ago, a tornado just came through my house.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're here shaking me down.
And you're shaking me down for some money to secure my house.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I don't get that. Like, I respect the drive of, the hustle for them, but don't do those tactics. They don't work, because the companies that are doing it the right way, it looks bad on us.
Yeah.
It looks bad on the rest of them that are out there trying to be as ethical and moral about it as possible. So just like you have your slogans and your sayings, Shield Roofing is quality above quantity. Quality over everything.
Yep.
But I have my own. I'm trying to change the roofing game one roof at a time.
I like that.
So I want to change your opinion of what roofers are and who we are one at a time.
Right.
Because I can't, change everybody's mind all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
I like that. That's
I'm changing the roofing game one roof at a time.
I like that. You're doing the right thing. You're trying to go above and beyond to do the right thing. And at the end of the day, that's what matters.
I try to. I put my best foot forward.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't work, but sometimes, most of the time, it does.
I had a buddy tell me one time that there's no pride in profit.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
Just do the right thing and it'll come back to you tenfold. And that's,
you reap what you sow. It goes back to the oldest, business and religion and everything. Yeah. That's in everything.
Yep.
I was just having a conversation with Isaiah about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
drug dealers, if you want to be good at your job, you don't get high on your own supply, right? So that's still the fundamental basis of you reap what you sow. If you keep pulling from that, the ground, everything that you're putting in there, and you're not maturing it and building that relationship and maintaining it and nurturing it, you're not going to get anything out of it. So the same thing. There's no pride in the profit.
No, I love that, man. That's awesome.
It's kind of fundamental. It just goes back to the, all the way back to the beginning of everything. You reap what you sow. That's what we believe in with our BNI group and everything. Givers gain. You know, it's a different way of saying reaping what you sow.
It's so powerful too, our BNI group. I've been in part of groups. Man. And this one,
it's electrifying.
It is. I remember when Jason was like, "Hey, we're starting a BNI." I was working downtown, and he goes, "Hey, I'm having a BNI meeting. Come over here because you're going to join." I was like, "Jason, I'm not going to join your BNI group. I was like, I'm not doing that." I was already in a group previously.
He's very aggressive too.
He is. He did, and then he and Michelle, because Michelle's in his BNI group. Michelle was like, I remember because she called me after he talked to me and was like, "Did you go to that meeting?" And I was like, "Were you in on this?" And she was like, "Yeah, you're going." I was like, "Okay." But I remember building the chapter was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was so difficult, but it was also so rewarding.
Look at where it's at now.
Right?
From the time that you first came into the old group that I was in, Preferred Professionals, to where it's at now. Just exploded. But the energy with the young blood that's in there and the young entrepreneurs. Man, that's going to be we're going to be a $5 million chapter, like, consistently.
The biggest difference maker I've found is when I walk in there, I'm looking around and I'm like, whose business am I going to impact this week? I need winners in here. And so I want to make sure that these guys we're all eating.
So did Jason tell you the BNI, the people that are in it? Did he ever tell you that? I'm sure you've heard it.
When we were starting it?
Yeah. Well, no, just like the type of people that get into it.
Oh, yeah.
You got the movers and the shakers, the mom and pops, and the people that burn all their damn bridges and try to use it as a last resort. Yeah. We have a group full of nothing but movers and shakers.
100% I feel that. And we've got, and I just did an interview last Tuesday. We had an applicant, and I stayed after me and a few others. We interviewed her. And I've been on membership committees in BNI groups before, and it's like, if you got a pulse, we'll take you. You're in. And we sat there and we really put this girl through the ringer and making sure she was of the highest quality. And then afterwards, we all convened and we talked, and there was a lot of it was refreshing to hear hey, we're not just gonna give her the approval. We're gonna check the references. We're gonna actually make sure that this person coming in is who we want, because I was one of the founding members of the chapter. Yeah. I was
that's why I hit you up.
Yeah. I was one of the OGs, and I was I remember what it was like to have to build this thing. It took months, and then the holiday season came up, and we put it on the back burner because it was the holidays. And then we finally got chartered, and we've got the right people. And with anything in life, if you have the wrong people, it's like a cancer. You have to remove it, and you got to protect the whole. Yep. And we're doing so good at I don't want to say gatekeeping, but making sure we're keeping this thing protected.
I mean, still gatekeeping though, making sure that it is gonna grow.
Yeah.
But even on just this right here, but I was gonna mention it. I think we owe Jason. Yeah. Because he put this thing in motion to get another one going. Mm-hmm. So I think we all need to kind of
I just saw him last Thursday at your old group, and I was like, dude, I told him, I was like, I don't know if you heard, but we hit over 1 million. He was like, I saw the video, which was exciting.
What, 5 months?
Yeah. In 5 months, we hit over 1 million. Oh. And he was like, I saw it, dude. That's exciting. I was like, it should be that is really hard to do. And we did it, and we're still growing. We're going to hit 2.5 mil. That's kind of what I'm eyeing right now, is if we can get to 2.5 mil.
Think so?
Oh yeah. I think we could get.
When's our cutoff for that?
We chartered June. I think we chartered in June.
Oh, we can.
So we got until June, and it's we're talking 5 months. We hit 1 million. So I'm giving some leeway because of the holidays.
Well, I just turned in 100,000.
And I had some thank you for closed business coming in too. So I'm we're cruising to 2.5 mil.
Yeah, I think we might be able to hit that. Well, Preston, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Love to have you back on.
Love it.
And just so everybody watching, When we do have Preston come back on, we're going to ask some questions and whatnot. So if you guys have questions, comments, anything that you would like for me to relay to Preston, let me know, or any other rest of the guests that we do have on. So thank you, man.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it.